What's student voice? Hold on.
Please tell me you have the charger.
That's recording.
I don't.
It was blinking.
Integrating classrooms. Why are you laughing? Now you gotta turn it off. Is that orange? Is that a Tide Pod? Tide Pod?
Are you ready? Student voice is meaningful. I feel like the effect on student voices in school, it could either go really good or really bad depending on the people in the school and how they react to it. There's this thing that's been happening for a while with especially students in schools. Teachers feel like that students shouldn't have a voice, they should just be quiet about certain situations, but right now, this day and age, it's not really the case anymore. Student voice is students truly speaking up about issues that they care about and changing the world. My original passion project, I started with something else at first. Like, my original passion project was like focusing on cultural appropriation. But then I shifted it over to the lack of minority teacher representation in schools because I joined the JPSDP policy subcommittee. Me and Jalen Gordon earlier in the year were honored to attend a JPSDP policy subcommittee, and during this meeting they were bringing up a lot of things that was going on in the school system with minority students, and one of the bigger things that was coming up a lot in people's presentations were the teacher representation with minorities. And also another thing that was coming up a lot was the suspension rates on minority students and how that could be decreased or why is that happening and so on and so forth. 2 or 3 months ago, I chose to switch my passion project to the minority representation in the school system with teachers specifically. During this project, I've done a lot with this. I wrote an article. I feel like minority representation especially with teachers in schools, is very crucial because it's needed for minority student success in the classroom. It's human nature to be able to relate more to someone that looks like you than someone who doesn't, or to even feel more comfortable in the classroom. I feel like this problem can be solved through student voice by simply speaking out about the issue. This isn't just a issue that you can go into a classroom and talk to kids and be like, oh, you should be a teacher. It doesn't work like that.
Student voice is truth. Hi, my name is Don Trout, and I'm a senior at Fern Creek High School in Louisville, Kentucky. Student voice in school is so extremely detrimental because it literally shows out the young mind and like how we're going to play in the future. Realizing what minorities have to offer is vitally important, which is why I decided to work on fixing different things in the community that could be beneficial to different minority students and students that are like in community organizations and whatnot. I wanted to focus on working with like my peers like Kamari Brooks and Ramika Johnson on identifying what the disparity is between the AP kids and honors kids, especially while there's such a lack of minority representation in these AP classes and such a heavy representation of them in honors classes, which is viewed as less than in schools. I also wanted to work with Kamari in figuring out why a bigger population of minority teachers in the schools would be beneficial to like minority students. So what we decided to do is piece together a bunch of different things from our journey from the beginning of this project until now and see how everything's come to fruition in helping minorities in our schools and in our communities in Louisville, Kentucky. We have done things like stay at retreats to figure out what the problems are in these conflicts. We have done things like go to DC and march at rallies. We have done so many different things that a lot of students don't have the opportunity to do, and we furthered the illusion of student voice and made it a reality. So we did all that, pieced all these different things together to make this documentary. Student voice is what is going to thrive the new generation into going to their successful future. And What's the Story, we were required to do different projects that we call passion projects that we find are going to help out the community, immensely. So what I decided to do was a documentary, which we all came together to help piece this together, that took a journey from our doings in the beginning of this year until now. And so we've done things like go to overnight retreats and talk about what we wanted to do with one another and have good fellowship amongst other students that also have different passions about different things in the communities. We've gone to the March for Our Lives event in Washington, D.C. and got to meet up with different students and talk to different people and ask them questions and interview them about the different things that they are passionate about in their states and in their cities. We've done so many different things that have revolutionized student agency. We've gone and worked with the Pritchard Community Student Voice team and gone to many events and marched on the Capitol in Kentucky and had different opportunities that a lot of students don't have the chance to, go through with. So with all these different things that we've done, we've pieced together a documentary, which this is the fruition of that. And yeah.
Student voice is powerful.
So, my freshman year, I noticed there wasn't a lot of social activism in the school, and from what it was only AP students. So I didn't really do much of activism my freshman year, but I was thinking about it. I had seen from other schools and other of my friends' schools, they had started like BSUs and certain social justice groups. And I wasn't really seeing that at Fern Creek. So then sophomore year, I came to this awesome man named Joseph Franzen, and Don Trowell with the idea of a BSU. But at the time, I don't think my school was ready for a BSU. Like socially, they weren't ready to have a black student union in there. I decided to basically kind of make a diet BSU, I would say, a group called Mosaic. And we named it Mosaic for minorities overcoming social and institutional changes. And that was lifting off the ground, but it wasn't really resonating with people. It kind of felt all lives mattery. It was sugarcoating what actually needed to be talked about, which in the school I feel were issues pertaining. Some tensions arose my junior year of high school that really kicked off what is now known as Black Student Union at Fern Creek. Really senior years, it's been taking off, and we've been really doing stuff within the community and within the school. So that's the timeline.
Student voice is very important because how can you enforce rules for our children without our children's opinions? I think we need to focus more on integrating our classrooms.
Student voice is agency.
I joined the Black Student Union because, unlike so many other people out there, I like to chase what makes me uncomfortable. I like to gain that understanding. That way I'm not so uncomfortable with it. So at first when I joined, I wasn't necessarily very understanding of all of the things we've discussed in the Black Student Union. But over time, I come in with an open mind and I try to expand my horizons, I guess.
What's it like being in Black Student Union as a white man? Honestly.
I'm gonna say it has ups and downs.
What's the ups?
The ups is that I get to meet people with inspiring passions, and I get to become a part of those passions, and they transform into my own passions.
And what's the downs? What's the downs?
Stepping on toes. I like uncomfortable. That's what I'm saying. That's why why Black Student. That's why I had trouble answering that, because it wasn't necessarily a bad a bad feeling. It was just uncomfortable, but I'm okay with uncomfortable. That's why I kept going. And eventually it won't be uncomfortable. An ally is someone who understands the struggles that a minority group, not necessarily a black, like the black minority group, but any kind of minority, right? So being an ally is not necessarily trying to adopt those struggles, but realizing that you wouldn't be able to understand some of those struggles and standing up for those things. I said struggle, but I suck at this.
What is wrong with you?
Freaking sweating.
Austin, please.
No, I think I'm just being too professional. Basically, when we get into conversations with people who are uncomfortable with racial issues or don't want to necessarily see that side of things because they're talking to someone that's a part of that marginalized group, I can be that like connector. Basically, I just offer a different perspective as an ally to further the movement of like Black Lives Matter and things like that.
Student voice is my right to stand up for what I believe in as an American citizen.
Okay, so BSU, a Black Student Union, correlates to student voice because it empowers African Americans and people of color to not necessarily overlook the problems that they face in everyday society. It gets rid of that learned hopelessness. That filter comes off and you see the true colors of people, and you have these critical conversations that help develop these young, thriving people.
Solving the problem starts with you. You are the solution.